everyone, and welcome to the DevMar Debugged podcast, where experts from top companies all over the world share their insights on everything developer marketing. In today's episode, we're chatting to Trust, Developer Relations Manager at Bunzz, about how to plan and execute developer outreach programs for developers. So hi, Trust. Great to speak with you. How are you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
But before we dig into this topic of today's episode, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
My entire tech journey in 2017 as a software engineer, particularly on the Android development, mobile apps development, and moved to program management. That was where I got into the whole DevRel activity because I was tasked with developer education, program management, and that was where the entire desire to help developers succeed and helping them to learn constantly had really strong hold on me. And I had to dive into community management and progressively moved from there. So currently I am more focused on developer marketing, which is at the core of awareness and adoption of products that developers use. So my coding background, it makes it easier to understand what developers want and eventually, help them to succeed with the product.
Oh, great. So why did you decide to kind of take that leap on the more marketing side?
Yeah, so that leap happened because I really was, I am intrigued with more public speaking facing roles, right? So marketing gives me the flexibility to be in the faces of developers more often, as against being at the background, creating content and sharing this content. But I have to be with them, understanding what they want, take the feedback, down to the marketing or the managerial role who's managing the department. So I feel like DevRel is at the core marketing. So I just had to switch down there to really have a strong hold of the marketing side of DevRel, which is to really bring awareness, adoption, and advocacy of a product. And marketing is at the forefront of that. So that's why I had to move back and take a foundational grip on marketing.
No, very interesting, especially because you hear so many people say that developers don't like marketing and they're such a difficult audience and all that.
Indeed.
So in your opinion, is that true? And if it is, why is that? Why are they so averse to marketing?
The developers don't hate marketing. Rather, I think what they hate is how the marketing is being done, right? So if you are always on their faces and you're wasting their time and you're always too silly, then they won't like it. But they like being told about new products, how they can be educated about this product, how to solve problems, which is marketing, but in a more developer-friendly way. So I don't think they hate marketing. They just hate how it's been done, to them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And why would you say they're, I suppose, difficult compared to other audiences? Why does it take so long, or is it so much harder to kind of engage with them and engage their attention, really?
Yeah, I think that developers are very busy people, right? So they are always trying to fix one bug or the other. They're always trying to to build things and solve problems. And so why there may be a difficult audience, because unlike other audiences, like probably B2C or B2B, they have this preference for self-discovery. They prefer delivering the solutions themselves. They prefer going through either a documentation and a guide to do it themselves, as against waiting for someone to help them do it. And so also because of how highly technical they are compared to other audiences, it makes them really being able to, to sniff out when things are not being done properly, especially in terms of using technology to market to them. And so because of this, they really are looking for fast-paced solutions to their problems. So they want to be educated. They want to help get their problems quicker, to build solutions. So all of this makes them a more difficult audience than the other B2B and B2C audiences. And also because of their sense for community. So they want to be tied or attached to a community, right, where they could easily ask questions. They could easily share their problems. They're more community driven than the other two, type of audiences. All of this makes them entirely difficult to get to and to convince them because they're everywhere. Somebody's like getting their attention. So they really want, someone, a product that could really tailor to their needs. And that's where they'll be more eager to approach and, like more eager to give what they want to give to the product.
No, that's great. Thank you. And I think, that kind of segues nicely into the topic that you kind of need a specific program for developers. And so why is that? Why do you need to develop when you're thinking about outreaching to them, have to be developed specifically with them in mind?
Yeah. So there are different kinds of developers, right? I mean, developers who are doing different things, right? So knowing that developers have different, personas really inspire you to know that you have to have specific plans for these developers in different, levels and different expertise. But overall, the goal is the same. Every developer has one goal: to build solutions. They want to deploy, they want to build. So if you can help them ease their productivity, deploy on time, save time, then you will be their best friend, especially when you have a product to give to them. So when we have specific plans, we want to understand what is in need of each of his developers. So beginners have their needs, intermediates have their needs, and experts have their needs. So senior developers have their needs, junior developers have their needs, and those in mid-level have their needs. So when we have specific plans for each of these needs, each of these levels of developers, it's easier for us to get their attention. But if we begin to have a general plan for every developer in terms of, let's get this program or this activity for everybody, then you will not really catch the attention of those you want to get to. And also because of, like I mentioned earlier, developers hate marketing, idea, so they have this skepticism towards sales and marketing, right? So there has to be a properly planned specific item that want to get to them without looking like sales and marketing people, especially when it comes to content. So that's like, it's all content driven in terms of how to get developers to attend to you. So understanding that developers have different needs and different levels will inspire anyone who's actually wanting to reach them to have different plans for each specific people, and all centered around content. And also because developers care about how you approach them, there's also a need for us to really have plans for the developers specifically.
All right. And in your experience, is that a difficult thing to implement, kind of figuring out the different needs, and how would you go about that?
Yeah, I mean, it can be difficult, especially when the product is catering for different developer levels. It is difficult. It is difficult. But I think that what helps in that solution is to have an incremental growth to the outreach program. So, for example, if we have an SDK, an API SDK that tailors towards different levels or different type of developers. For example, there could be a Java SDK for those who are building for Android. There could be a Python SDK or a React, so with different SDKs, for different needs. So rather than taking all of the SDK into one outreach program, we have to divide them. So one outreach program would tailor to the Java developers and then talk about it and finish it and move over to those who are in the JavaScript area or the Python area. So like breaking down all of these outreach programs will really help them, like take them all together at once. It makes it bulky. And of course, you could lose sight of your metrics or KPI, and that wouldn't really actually be appropriate. So that's like one of the tips that I think I practice a lot, is to break them down into who do we need to get to, when should we get to them, and then breaking it down and incrementally going, to those entire goals that we have.
Yeah, no, that's really good. It's kind of like just keeping the client, in this case, the developer, in mind at all times, and don't forget who you're doing it for, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other suppose, tips or any other steps that you can recommend to people looking to create these outreach programs and execute them?
Oh yeah. So there, in my opinion, right? Of course, everyone has their opinion regarding how the entire developer relations and marketing concept looks like. But from my experience, I have come to a conclusion that is essentially just three things: is the awareness, is the adoption, and advocacy. So DevRel and marketing is all about those three things. So no matter what we do, it still falls back to those three things, right? So everyone who is in DevRel, DevMar space and wants to do an outreach program needs to, ask themselves, at what stage is our product, is my product? Are we in the awareness stage? Are we in the adoption stage? Or are we in the advocacy stage, right? So different outreach programs will be essential for different stages. For example, if we are in the awareness stage, there are activities that needs to be done and the kind of program that needs to be initiated. If we are in the adoptions phase, there is a kind of outreach program that should be done. So where people get mixed up is where they're in awareness, but they are doing things that are meant for adoption. And so the results will not entirely show, right? So there has to be outreach program that matches the stages and the goals that the product or developer B2D companies is looking out for. So regardless of whatever stages that the developed marketer is, content is king, right? But now, how do we deliver this content? One of the best ways of seen happen in so many cases is conferences, right? There's conference, there is meetups, there are webinars, all of those things, right? So conferences are very fantastic mediums or channels, outreach program for developers. But what content are we going to deliver in this conference? So my take is that I've used it too in my work as well, is that when we are in the awareness stage, we want people to get to know about our products. We're early stage, you're trying to grow an authority or a fan base, a community around this product in a new environment. Awareness during conferences as an outreach program would be to give talks, would be to do more of how-tos to show how this works. That works perfectly fine. But if we are in the adoption phase, this is a phase where we want developers to use this product. We want them to deploy this product. We want them to actually have this product as part of their toolkits. Now, if we are going to still use conferences as our outreach program medium, we would not really need to do talks. Rather, we want to stick on workshops. So workshops work better when we want to drive adoption as against talks, because talks works entirely better for awareness. But adoption really, really drives through workshops, hands-on, show them how it works and deploy, and then follow them up later to see how that entirely works, right? So I think that these are little things that many developed marketers or developer people actually miss out, and they all want to give talks, but at what point should you do which? And of course, entirely, we need to have quality, code samples, quality articles, quality documentation that can really support all the outreach program we're trying to have as well. And again, too, there is this need for hackathons, right? So not every product needs a hackathon, right? Of course, hackathons are also a very fantastic way, but hackathons drive especially adoption. So I feel like I know that there are different outreach programs, right? That are specifically designed to drive certain goals. And hackathons are especially good for adoption because developers will build and you see them build with your tool. You can measure feedback and improve, and they can actually use it to also build for future projects that they have for their particular, development. So these are minor things too that I feel like tips that every developed marketing manager or relations manager should understand in terms of, how do we approve conference sponsorships? How do we engage or advocate to go there? So all of these things are being tallied into one. Yeah, that's like what I could say right now regarding that.
No, that's really good. I love that. And if you'd like to provide even more examples on, something that would fit into the awareness stage, something that would fit in the adoption, because I do think this is like an area that people stumble on quite a lot. I've spoken to a lot of people, and sometimes they say to me that the difficulty is, well, how exactly do you get developers to do what you want them to do? I think the hands-on experience is great for like the adoption stage. And so, just if you have a couple more examples for each.
So let me just dwell a little more on awareness, right? So because content is central across any stages at all, because developers want to be taught. They're looking for educational materials that can help them fix what they need to fix, right? So if we talk about engaging them in the awareness stage, so we need to understand where is our strength, is our content strength lying on? Are we more of a video-driven educational company? Like, are we doing videos often on YouTube, TikTok, whatever? Or are we more of text, blogs? Are we doing more of, what's it called now? As a samples, white papers or anything regarding to, text-based, content for developers. So regarding where we want to position ourselves in, we want to take a look at what is our products trying to help developers to solve and fix. So the awareness phase about looking at developer personas, right? Who are we targeting? How do we break it down? Or we're going to talk to our products for Java developers, right? Okay, Java developers, are they Java developers building on the web backend, or those building on Android mobile applications? So who are the Java developers we're looking out for? Once you've analyzed that, then the question would be, what is their level of expertise? Are they junior developers? Is this SDK, or is the product actually meant for those who are mid-level or senior? So when we take a look at this question, then begin to take a look at, okay, that's fine. So what content should we be writing, or should we be making in terms of video creation that will appeal to these people? For example, an example I will give is, so at Bunzz, we started with the awareness stage because it was a new blockchain infrastructure project that we needed to push out for developers. So initially, our target was senior developers who are in the Web2 space, who wanted to move to Web3 space without to learn how to code with Solidity on Ethereum. So that gives them, it's more like a bridge, so they can save time to build the way they know how to build, but this time on the blockchain. So the pitch was, still use your already familiar technology and build on the blockchain without going to learn a new different technology. That was the pitch, right? And it made sense. So we know that the pain that the developers we are facing was that they do not want to go to learn a new technology. They want to use the same one they know to still be on the blockchain. So all the articles we wrote, all the videos we did was specifically centered on how can you build on Web3 with Web2. So we knew that was what would catch their attention. So we had to write different, articles on different things. How can you move from Web2 to Web3? We still maintain your Web2 knowledge. And it worked very well, because rather than us focusing on the blockchain part of things, we have to focus on the Web2 part of things and then move them to Web3. So I think it's, there's this formula. So again, I think that in as much as, yes, we say that developer audience are very different from B2C and B2B, but I think that there is certain similarities in terms of the methods. So for example, there is this particular method. I'm trying to remember the B2C method. I think it is it ADA, attention. I'm trying to remember that, and then action, attention, detail, and then action. I think that's ADA. I think that should be that. Yeah, that should be that. Yeah, attention, detail, and then the action. So get the attention, tell them the details about why you need the attention, then move them to action, right? So in case of what we did at Bunzz at the early stage was that we knew that developers in the Web2 space wanted to build in the Web3 space, but didn't have the time to go and learn Web3 technology. So we said all of the tutorials, all of the workshop webinar was around jump from Web2 to Web3. And that really helped us with our awareness phase. If we had focus on how to build with Web3 technology without talking about where you're coming out from, would just be doing the adoption phase while missing out on your work. We're jumping that particular phase, and it would not work for us as much as we wanted it to work, right? So all of the conference we're going to, all of the talks we're giving, we're really based on does your conference have people from Web2 or those from Web3? Yes, we are a blockchain company, but we want those also from Web2. So when we now moved from the awareness phase to adoption, all the conferences went to a just blockchain conference because we've passed the whole awareness phase because that's no longer necessary anymore. So we're now looking at those who are now in the Web3 space, wanted to improve and build. So again, because we knew that our product was going to target to senior developers, we had no business with the junior or mid-level, unless, we really wanted to do an outreach program that is more like a general outreach program. But internally, we focused mainly on those who are senior developers because they had what we needed them to have to build on our platform. So entirely that was what we did. And then we'll move to adoption phase. We did less of talks and more of workshops. We did less of webinars and more of hackathons because that was at the phase we needed to build momentum regarding how people built on our platform and eventually, harbor the feedback and recycle them. So entirely, I think it's really about understanding the developer personas. Like, what are we helping them to solve? What problem are they going to fix with our products? And in the awareness phase, our target idea should be articles or content that talks about the problem and the solution tied together. Then when we've passed that stage, we're now in the adoption phase. In the adoption phase, our content should be focused on how can they be better with the solution. So it's less of the problem now than it's more of the solution. And so that's entirely the shifts of how this should be done, from my experience and how I think it really should be done based on how it really works with this particular audiences. So this is, and then for the advocacy part of it is last stage advocacy, because we've done the awareness, we've done the adoption, now is the advocacy, which is where those who are in the adoption phase are those who read their developers who have used the platform, they have, adopted the platform, happy with it, and then they're telling others about it. So when you have people who are holding their own independent webinars, talking about your own platform, then you've won the advocacy game, because it's really interesting to see people come up with different, webinars without your knowledge because they want to tell other people about it. Developers are community driven because they want to, if it works for them, they want others to use it. They love to tell stories about what they've used. So developers, when we get to the advocacy, we want to empower them to tell others about the products. And it could be, there are two ways. It could be organic or inorganic. Organic would be, it grows naturally with them use your product. They like your product, talk about it on Twitter, they post on LinkedIn, they talk about your products without you knowing about it. Inorganic way would be you having more of an organized internal ambassador program where you reward them for talking about these things. It could be giving them swags, it could be giving them pegs, it could be free credits, but you are empowering them to talk about this product on your behalf, right? But I think the best of them is to see a glimpse, an atom of organic advocacy before building and making it more organized and structured, right? So it's entirely, I think that no matter what we're trying to achieve, no matter the roles we have in the whole DevMar space, internally or essentially, we just have three things. Are we doing things to bring more awareness to the products? Are we doing things to bring more adoption or advocacy? It's either or one of these three things. And that's like the core thing I feel like everyone should really endeavor. Are we really bringing awareness, adoption, advocacy, and how can we improve on it? So that's the important thing. Understand the audience. Content is king. Platform selection is also important. What platform should we really engage with them? Is it on Stack Overflow, GitHub, our own community? Should we be on Twitter? Should we have meetups, partnerships? So all of these things are really essential to really tailor how we talk about our outreach program to developers. I think I'm talking too much.
No, I love that. That's so clear as well. No, thank you for it. Seriously, it's just so good. And I feel like it can help people kind of differentiate as well and organize their thoughts and their processes and what to do in each stage. No, I love that. That's so good. And as well, I think once you all have that in place, even though you moved, from awareness to adoption, from talks to hackathon, for example, you still have the content written. So you still pulling in people through the whole process, have to keep repeating it basically. Content really reigns. Yeah. That's really good. Have you had any challenges during your, outreach programs, or even this particular example you mentioned, or any other that you feel it's worth mentioning?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few challenges. Every outreach program, every developer, program, regardless of the structure or the nature, have challenges. I think there are a few different. I'll mention like three challenges. So one is resource allocation. The second one is content creation. The third is engagement. I'll put the last one. The fourth one would be measuring success or effectiveness. So the first would be resource allocation. It can be difficult to know what's the budget for our outreach program, right? Especially when we are sponsoring a particular conference. So we could either arrange the program ourselves, or we can partner with others to do that. That's where the whole sponsorship thing comes in. And so I've received a whole lot of sponsorship requests for conferences. And the concern is this amount of money we're about to spend really worth it? Because there are different ways we can get to developers. But should we give $10,000 to this particular conference, or even people actually have over $20,000 in sponsorship debt, many of them? Is this necessary at this point? So I think the solution would be what is our return on investment, right? So what is our real goal for doing this outreach program? If our goal is simply just awareness, all developers know about our product, you can check it out, that's awareness, then sponsoring these conferences could be the best bets to give money for awareness, but of course, understand how this particularly is going to work. So talks are essentially important. Are we going to have our banners? Are we going to have, so what exactly are we going to be having on that day? Our booth stands, awareness, fantastic, the budget. Now, if the budget is a little bit large and we have other things to do with the budget we have for Q1 or Q2 or the quarter, we could talk about partnerships or collaborations that could reduce the resources, that could reduce the budget, right? So for example, we could say, we're going to rather than giving you $10,000 for this conference, we can give you 1,000 credits to developers, and then reduce it to 80%. So, reduce so we should reduce by splitting different partner collaborations for developers. I think credits actually more better because, people are going to use your credit on your product. So it's a win-win situation because credits also for your product as well, right? So I think that budget allocation is very difficult to do because you're trying to look at, is this really best for us to do this? And how do we essentially do this in terms of who are we looking at for, who's going to come to the conference is a competitor in the conference as well, because that's a challenge too, because you could sponsor and then different people do the same thing as you come, and then you're trying to share and struggle with the entire thing. So all these questions should be asked, before given the budget. And of course, the resource would be for teams that are global teams that are distributed remotely across different countries. Resource allocation can also be difficult in terms of knowing who should we send to go there, who is close to the region, who is close to the country, who should we send to go there. It's also, a challenge for in most times. And so solutions that we've used, and I see that has worked for different companies, is to find, if we cannot sponsor a lot of advocates to that place at the same time, we could find developers who are in our community, who are in the region or in the country, and make them ambassadors for that particular conference, and send one advocate close to the region to come to the conference. So the advocate manages the ambassadors, and so you're using money on flights and accommodation for 3-4 different advocates, and that's essential for different things as well. So allocation of resources is a challenge. And I think, as I've mentioned, solution would be to look for ways to collaborate and offer things, not money, that could reduce the budget in terms of the money. Try to also use ambassadors. If you're in a global team, that reduce the money spent on traveling and accommodation, and also see how we could use certain platforms to automate certain things, right? So there are teams where there is little need for a community manager, and community management is not their priority right now, but more they need advocates to do more content and more marketing and all of those things. So we could, if it's Discord have some AI bots that could arrange certain things. So rather than hiring someone who is not needed right now, we could automate certain tasks and platforms that could help us to do that as well. And these are partnerships too, can reduce the budget in terms of marketing for conferences and things as well. So second challenge is in content creation. So producing high quality content can be difficult and really, really straining, especially for video content. And I think that the question for every company or every development marketing manager would be, where does your strength lie? Is your strength lying in text? Can you write better than you talk? Are you camera shy? So where is your strength? I think that every company should know where their strength is. I know Alchemy, it's a blockchain company. I love how they did their content strategy. It's fantastic. I think they really took the whole content strategy by his head. It really, really works for them, and I love it because they didn't just go from blogging. They now have a boot camp that is a correlation of all of their blogs and tutorials, like a course. So if you want to get certified in a blockchain development company with Alchemy, you register and you go through their platform. It's just fantastic, right? So everyone needs to know where their strength lies. I think Third Web is more video focused. They have lots of videos on YouTube, and that works for them. So know what works for you, and stick to that, and recycle content as well. So having resources in creating different content, can we recycle our content? So the content we did 6 months ago, can we find a way to recycle it to other different formats, right? So, and also trying to do how we can distribute them. I think the challenge, it's also not just about creating content, but how do we distribute the content? So people have really fantastic content, but very poor distribution strategies, right? So how do we distribute this content? And again, it all falls back to, where are your developers at, right? Where are they at? Are they more on Twitter? Are they more on Stack Overflow? Where are they? And so you take the content and go to them and let them find you there. So I think the concept here is, we need to be, I think, as this strategy that I love to call, be everywhere strategy. Be everywhere strategy basically means where your developer is likely to find you, be there. be everywhere possible that they're going to find you. If they search on Medium about, for example, I'm still going back to Android because Android was my background. So Android development. So if there is an Android SDK that your company is actually producing and marketing for, if I'm going to search about Android on Medium, what are the chances I'm going to find you there? I'm going to go to Android Central. I'm going to go to maybe wherever I'm going to that I need to search about Android. Can I find you there? I go to, so wherever your developers are, try to be there. Try your best to be everywhere possible they can find you. And that's about distribution as well. Yeah. I think that most companies too are scared to spend money. I get the whole startups are more leading towards organic growth. But I think that for us to really, really maximize and get our goals, we need to spend some money on ads. Right. Yeah. Ads need to be spent. We need to run ads, right? I mean, I get the whole idea. That's where the whole concept of developers hate marketing and then people don't do ads. Ads may not entirely just be about trying to sell to developers. We could run ads on educational content. I think that there was this particular crisis in a company that I was consulting for. I won't mention the names, but they had an issue of trying to reach developers from a different region. And all of the advocates are from one region, we call it region A, but they're looking to get to region B. Now, how can they get region B if they don't do two things? If they don't either find a conference in region B to sponsor and travel there, have a presence there, or we can run ads from country A that can be shown to those in country B. So no matter how money has to be spent. So we cannot achieve our goal of expanding if we don't spend money. So I think that's another challenges of trying to convince those in charge of the whole allocation of resource to spend money on these things. But once they can see the value and they can see why we should do this, it will be easier to convince them to do that, right? I think that we need to distribute our content and also run ads if possible on those content. We need to spread our efforts so that we can really be everywhere possible that our developers can find us. And again, the third challenge is around engagement and visibility. So there are different communities or different B2B companies that are finding difficult to engage developers. So they have developers in the community, they have developers in the but how do we engage them? Right. So I think engagement would be in terms of community events, to response hackathons, to do forums, to participate in MIA section, Twitter spaces. So that's a challenge too that most development marketers are trying to know which is better. Should we do more Twitter spaces and more more Zoom webinars? Where should we put our efforts in? All of those. So it depends on the aim and goal of the entire program. And then again, I think Twitter Space is fantastic for awareness, webinars on Zoom, is also awareness and adoption too, because you can show things and show them how things work, right? So challenges in engagement and visibility are also important. SEO is also a solution to this. SEO is very, very important, right? So again, in as much as we want to distinguish, or distance the B2C to B2D, there are still things we can take out from there as well that can be applicable to B2D. And SEO marketing is also important. So how do we position certain keywords that developers are looking out for in terms of work fixes, types of how they're looking for ideas? So that's part of the visibility part of things as well. And again, it takes three months most for SEO to begin to germinate in terms of, really, showing SEO-based content for particular platform. So what companies do solutions to would be to leverage on third-party platforms like Medium, Hashnode, and Dev.to, Hackanoon to publish the content because they have faster SEO rankings than your own, trying to build your own from scratch. Yeah, so that's like another solution to engage and build visibility, around these things. And then lastly, it's challenges of knowing how to manage results. So how do we know if we've done well? How do we manage or measure our success, right? A challenge is to track the efforts. But again, I think that solution would be to establish clear KPIs and know what we need to do at this point in time, because we, of course, separating your efforts into what stays in awareness, what stays in adoption, what's in advocate is very important, because if you are pushing this program because you want to drive more awareness, so it could be talking about metrics as what is the website traffic, what is the content engagement, what is social media engagement. These are all, metrics to measure in the awareness phase. Now, if we are in the adoption phase, not looking about what's the next step, like what is the signups looking like, how many people are signing up for free trial, what's the deployment phase like, these are like metrics to measure in this particular, niches, and of course the community growth. So measuring success is really in terms of what are we looking out for. So giving a clear example, so at Bunzz, we had this particular, well, not a challenge, but then we moved from awareness to adoption. And then in adoption phase, we wanted, so the blockchain has two types of networks, testnet and mainnet. So testnet are for those who are trying to test their application before going to the production server, like the mainnet. So we had lots of people who were deploying on testnets, but not mainnets. But the business goal is driven from the mainnet perspective. So how do we increase more mainnet deployments than testnet? That was a question. So our outreach program was to introduce hackathons, was to introduce more workshops, and to partner with more popular mainnet networks that could easily help them to deploy. So so we knew clearly that all our efforts for that Q1 was to know how many people are deploying in testnets. We didn't care about the signups, but mainnets. Those are doing on mainnets. So these will help if we understand where is the category of our outreach program lying on. Is it in adoption, awareness, advocacy? What exactly are the metrics? What are the KPIs that we can measure the success out there? So Twitter likes, Twitter shares, followers are essential. They could be, they could be essential for the awareness, but overall, every company is looking to be in adoption. Adoption is the key for every company. Yeah. No matter if we're doing 100,000 followers on Twitter, we need adoption. So everything starts with adoption, right? Adoption will be that matrix of who is deploying with our SDK, who is building our SDK with these, and all of those things all tied towards that. So these are challenges that I've seen. I've seen people also face that, and solutions that I think that can work. And everyone should just really take a look at what is our core strengths, who are we marketing to, how do we know if we're succeeded, and why are we doing this? All of these questions will help us to know how to measure metrics and the success, in all around. So yeah, these are the ones I can remember right now and share with you.
No, that again, very comprehensive, and it's something I really appreciate, and I'm sure our listeners do as well, because it just helps to kind of know that, yes, you've also faced those challenges, and here are the way you surpass them. So that's great. No, thank you so much for that. And I think to finalize, just asking if perhaps you have any final thoughts or advice to give our listeners.
Yeah, so the DevMar space is a very interesting space to be in, because you are, in most cases, wearing different hats. You are doing lots of things for a lot of people, and it is easier to get, carried away by non-important activities, right, than important activities. So even those who are traveling, the whole traveling could be exhausting. They were traveling to this conference, that conference, doing different things. No matter what we're trying to do, it just has to be result driven. There has to be results. So either the results is showing that we're getting more awareness or we're getting more people adopting the products, or people are talking about it, advocating for the product. It's not easy because, like I said, different hats. But I think it's easier for us to know where our strength lies so that we don't do a lot of things and not entirely holding anything tangible. So if we are in a technical content marketing space, we can focus on that and really be an expert in creating content developers love and engaging those contents. We could also be faced in the more technical training perspective. So we could be more public facing. We could also utilize that to go to conference, speak at conferences, all the things, So even though, yes, developer marketing and developer marketing has the developer experience is in the middle. And then you have developer marketing and developer relations by the side. My perspective and from my experience is that developer experience lies heavily under DevRel, but it's also important for developer marketers because the experience for them to be attracted, also experience for them to have the adoption. So adoption also is really, falls under developer experience. So entirely, developer marketing should also be from developer experience. They need to really have a soft landing spot for developers and not do entirely too much. Just know where your strength is, focus on there and move. If you're a community person, do community stuff, spend money. Don't be scared to spend money. Convince whoever is in charge, head of developer marketing, head of developer relations, let's spend money because that's where the result is. And eventually we begin to go. So there's a lot to say, but of course, no time. And, there's a lot. But yeah, that's entirely, my closing remarks here.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of DevMar Debugged. If you want to hear more from professionals in the developer marketing world, subscribe to our podcast for more expert talks. See you on the next one.